What does it mean to lead with light? It means to be a voice for change through the gift of being yourself. It means to step into your full truth, your authenticity with an open heart. And when you connect that truth and that open-heartedness, you are able to see the light, not only within yourself, but in all living things. In the words of Aristotle, a Greek philosopher who lived and taught during the classical period in ancient Greece, it is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. This quote has as much resonance for humanity right now as ever it did in 350 BC. It is in these times of difficulty, our darkest moments, that we must focus on finding and leading with light. Hello and welcome to the Short and Sassy podcast with Simone de Haas, and today's episode, Lead with Light. On one of my trips to New York in recent years, I had the opportunity to witness an extraordinary production called Sleep No More by a company known as Immersive Theatre. I say witness because all of the audience members were required to wear a full face mask, much like the Commedia theatre masks, and were silent witnesses to the unfolding of the dramatic story, which was based on Shakespeare's Macbeth. This production took place in an almost pitch-black 6-story building, and every level of the building encompassed different elements of the story arc, and so you had no idea what you were walking into or what you were going to see. There were so many different components to this experience. From the beginning, there was such a sense of disorientation, of the unfamiliar, coupled with an underlying sense of excitement. Couples were separated and deposited on different levels of the building so that your experience was uniquely your own. As audience members, we were forbidden to speak. Our role was purely that to observe. We were encouraged to explore and to be curious, to engage with and experience the performances on every level, emotional, physical, intellectual, and spiritual, and to fully engage our senses. It was a uniquely individual experience, which took place in almost complete silence and gloom. It was at times, I have to admit, just a little scary because I got lost in the dark and couldn't see. It was also circular. I got lost in the dark and kept coming back to the same scenario over and over and over again. And it was also exciting. I got lost in the dark and then suddenly found myself in the middle of the dramatic action. My experience of this immersive performance created an intense awareness of being present in every single moment and enjoying the thrill of discovery and the unexpected. And it got me thinking about my personal discoveries as I wondered and wandered around in the dark. And what I discovered was that when everything appears to be gloomy and dark, we only need the tiniest bit of light to illuminate the path ahead. That when everything appears to be pitch black, even the smallest ray of light has the intensity of a spotlight. That small spark of light illuminates so much more than we believe is even possible. It illuminates our truth, our message, and that moment of brilliant clarity that allows us to move forward. I invite you to embrace that light, to be that light for others. Be willing to be yourself, and by doing so, create the space for others to be themselves too. To speak your truth, to stand up for what you believe in. You don't have to be anything other than who you are. That's how you contribute to the world. You make a difference by uplifting yourself, by leading yourself with light and allowing others to grow and expand in their awareness. And in this way, we all become a source of light and inspiration to others. Mahatma Gandhi put it so eloquently, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And every single day, you have endless opportunities to be that change, to be a source of light in the world, to lead with light. Every time you get through a challenging conversation and retain your compassion, every time you step forward and speak your truth, every time you take off your mask and allow yourself to be seen for who you are, you are being a leading light every time you allow yourself to be human and therefore imperfect. And when you lead from a space of empathy, you lead with light. When you open your heart to inclusivity, you lead with light. When you use your voice to speak up for injustice, you lead with light. Our light is what connects us. It is what allows us all to see the bigger picture, the universal truth of our deep heart connection. Now, there were other things that I discovered there in the darkness. I discovered the power of being fully present and embracing what is. I discovered that if I trusted my senses, that I would find my way. I discovered that if I got out of my own way, I would see where I was meant to go. I also discovered that because I had no expectation of what was to come or what I thought I would see or do or feel, I was completely available to the experience. I allowed myself to be fully immersed in the flow of discovery and the unfolding story. Now, I must admit that at times I felt so frustrated, entirely lost, and much like Hansel and Gretel, I really did wish I had a trail of breadcrumbs to follow. But in life, just as in this production, you have to choose your own experience. You don't always have a lot of light to guide you. Perhaps just a glimmer of understanding, a spark of something possible, a ray of hope that guides you and shows you new ways of being. Would you like to embrace this kind of living? No longer asleep, but awake. Awake to every possibility, embracing the unknown and leading with light. You've been listening to the short and sassy podcast with Simone de Haas. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love you to subscribe. You can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and also on my website at www.simonedehas.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening.